Hello and welcome to Total Nonstop Rewind. This is our first attempt at a podcast, catching up on April of 2013. We were going to do this in January, but obviously we didn't. The whole idea is to recap on all the news TNA related, and we should do introductions.
Yeah, we should.
I am the jobber blogger, Dan Wilkinson, and as always, this is the innovator of Annoyance, Rod Bilson.
Hello.
Doesn't have to lean in that much.
Oh, sorry.
Let's just get like a really random loud bit. Anyway, so we thought we'd bring to you little bite-sized chunks of what I think is, or what we think is, some of the top news stories from TNA in this month of April. We call this the lockups. Good. Number one. There's no particular order to them. TNA UK tour. They've now announced officially announced the dates of when you can buy tickets. Tickets go on sale Friday, May 3rd at 9 a.m. where TNA returns to Britain in January-February 2014. They're hitting Glasgow on January 30th, Manchester January 31st, London February 1st, and then Birmingham February 2nd. It does say that tickets are from just £22.50, but if you're looking for best seats, you can expect to pay up to about £90 pounds.
Yeah, those £22 tickets will be like really high up in the arena, won't they?
Yeah, the £22.50 means that you'd be at the very back. And unfortunately, TNA don't have a screen, so you've actually got no other way of watching the action apart from squinting at a tiny square.
Yeah, I hope I sort it out like next year.
Yeah, they need a Titantron.
Yeah.
In terms of the actual dates for the coming back, I mean, we're talking about going to watch them again, but I mean, I'm not going to bother Glasgow because we're not going to go to Scotland to do it. But obviously, this last year, or this year, even this last tour, they're only going to do the television tapings in London, but they added the Manchester, so to do Manchester, London, and then adding Birmingham at the end doesn't. We're not sure which ones to go to, really.
It is interesting how I've added Birmingham to the last one, because they normally have the best show at the end of the tour.
But I mean, they're not likely to do TV tapings for 3 shows in a row either.
I don't know, they could do.
But then that'd take them, if they still work on the schedule of doing 2 episodes per show, then obviously that's 6 episodes, which is longer than a month. Unless they do a pay-per-view. Because there is Genesis in January.
What, and have it in Birmingham?
Or Manchester.
Yeah, that could be quite good.
So it's possible. It's interesting that they've added Birmingham and put it at the end of the tour. And obviously, if they do follow suit with doing 2 tapings per show, then obviously that's going to stack up. In other news, TNA Impact and Challenge TV have teamed up to offer one lucky fan a TNA Slammiversary pay-per-view ticket, and they'll fly out to Boston as well. Sounds like a good thing, but I'm incredibly lazy when it comes to competitions, so I've not actually filled out anything.
What, is that like the loudest person in the arena gets a ticket?
No. It's irrelevant to that one.
Right.
Basically, if you want to go to that, you go to challenge.co.uk/games/win a trip to TNA Slammiversary. I'm sure you'll find it. I'm not quite sure what you have to do to win it. Again, I'm not going to even bother. But if anyone's interested, which is only like on Tuesday, so it's a bit short notice, but both Dixie Carter and Jeremy Borash are in the UK this coming week. They've got a TNA fan party in London on Tuesday, April 30th, between 7:30 and 10 p.m. And the only way to attend is to go on the TNA Wrestling UK Facebook page. So you'll have to check that one out if you're interested. And then TNA Dix is holding a Q&A in Glasgow on Thursday, May 2nd at 5:30. That one is free to anyone who's willing to go, which probably isn't many.
Probably not, no.
We've also got TNA's Final Resolution DVD. This is the last pay-per-view of 2012. Main evented with Bobby Roode and Jeff Hardy. That's now on DVD if you want to buy it. My personal opinion is don't bother, because there's no real point. If you want to watch the show, then you can do that online. The DVD doesn't offer you anything else that's worthwhile paying money to own it for. But if you're interested, you can go to thewrestlingpress.com and find my official review of TNA Final Resolution DVD. Big ups go out to the Wrestling Press. Chris Sabin is returning. I've missed a part, but we'll go back to it. Chris Sabin is returning next week. He's already returned technically because he's on the show they taped on Thursday. No word yet if he blew out his knees.
He won't know. Blew him out again. His big comeback and he blows out his knee already.
I mean, I like Sabin. When I used to watch TNA before, like Motor City Machine Guns, he's always one of my favourite in the X Division. But he did do a recent Q&A, which some people did like on the TNA page, where he did say that he is changing his in-ring style, which is interesting because when like people like RVD is an example who has injured his knee in the past and been told that he's able to change his style completely before coming back, he's obviously said that if he can't wrestle how he wants to wrestle, he wouldn't ever bother. So the fact that Sabin is changing his in-ring style, turns particularly from how he was with Motor City Machine Guns, means that obviously he has injured his knees. So he probably won't be doing as much X Division-y, high-flying stuff as he once did.
I'd rather see him as a main eventer anyway.
Well, he says his goal is going to be on the world title, and again, I like Sabin, but no offense to him, I don't really see him in that kind of category.
No, but it depends how good his gimmick is.
Well, yeah. I mean, now that like people like Austin Aries is there, he could easily main event with Aries, probably.
I'd technically class Aries as an X Division star, but he's still like a main eventer.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
But also, Chris Sabin did mention that the Motor City Machine Guns are not likely to return this year, if ever, pretty much. Now, part of that is because Alex Shelley has left the company. I think he did do a tryout with WWE, but I don't think he's working with them.
That would be a really bad mistake on his part anyway if he went there.
It would. But it could partially be because Alex Shelley might not be in. It could also be because maybe Chris Sabin can't wrestle that style of match anymore. And it could just be because they're just lying about it and they will do something eventually.
Most likely, yeah.
Particularly with TNA having a bit of a drought in the tag team division currently. They could probably do a bit more styles in that one. The bit I missed out, I was just going to mention merchandising in terms of if you think TNA's missing cues on their merchandise sales. The Aces and Eights mainly. We didn't see an official Aces and Eights t-shirt till Devon wore one at the show in Nottingham, which means Aces and Eights have been around since summertime, July, August I think of 2012, and they didn't get merchandise about 8 months later. When people
but I wouldn't think that's the logical thing to do anyway. If it's supposed to be this group who invade a company,
it seems silly for them to have merchandise, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I kind of think they probably wanted to get the whole reveal of all the members out first before they announce anything. But I think the general feeling on Aces and Eights is that they're sort of overstaying their welcome maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with that.
In which case, if they were going to sell anything in terms of making it profitable, they probably should have done it 7 months ago. Anyway, the ref cam, that's new. Well, we didn't see it on this last week's show, but they didn't have an X Division match. But with the new rules of X Division matches having everything contended in a three-way, which I still don't think is great, they now have the ref cam as a tryout, which is basically a referee wears a camera to bring a closer up action.
I don't think it is that good personally, because the camera is like very
fuzzy
and yellowish looking.
They certainly gave it a different tone to do something different. I mean, I think it's quite a novel idea. I think it'll be interesting if they did something where if you had people bending the rules a little bit and the ref you can see from the ref's perspective. But, I mean, the referee can't get knocked down whilst wearing it because that's probably a hazard to the camera and to the ref. They could easily injure him if he's got something on his head when he lands on it.
Yeah, but we'll probably still have lots of recaps about how the referee's been knocked over wearing it and things.
Probably. But it's interesting ideas, and I think it's nice that they try different things and that they're willing to try different things. But yeah, I don't think it'll be a long stay. I mean, what do you think to X Divisions being held in the three-way match?
Kind of repetitive. I'd like to see them in a different match type every time they fight, really.
Yeah, I think that's my main problem with it. Yeah. I mean, it seems silly to have number one contenders triple threats and then championship triple threats. It's sort of, I mean, three-way matches work well, and I think they think that X Division stars can work better with more people in the ring. They can have like a faster paced match, but then at the same time, if they're going to do that for everything, then it's already a bit boring.
Well, it's like having the Ultimate X match as every single X Division match. Eventually it would get boring.
Yeah. You need flavour with it, and obviously if they're trying to expand on the X Division, if they're going to bring in different styles, I mean, like when Douglas Williams was in it, you just don't want to see that kind of match type all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably going to run into the ground pretty quickly. Anyway, number 6. If you're a fan of the knockouts, which I think most people are, seeing as review-wise and ratings-wise, the ratings seem to spike whenever they're on, they've now got their own website for some reason, which really doesn't make a lot of sense. There is an official talk about it if you want to know what that is, but I really didn't pay much attention to it. Basically, if you're ever wanting to know why you should go on it, you can have like a knockout of the month, which is where they show the knockout of the month, which isn't that exciting. They're launching knockout magazines, which you can buy from Shop TNA. Again, don't know why you'd bother. Madison Rain writes a blog because she's pregnant, so she can't wrestle, so they gave her something to do. And then, now that Chrissy Hemmy's a bit more involved in, like, she's making knockouts, photo shoots and stuff, they'll probably just have videos up to do. And behind the scenes rubbish of that. But personally, I was annoyed just by watching the rubbish video promo they made, where the slogan is, "Yeah, what do you dare to be?" repeated 11 times by different people. So I don't dare to look. RVD possibly returning. His, I know you're not a fan of Rob Van Dam.
No, I'm not, no.
Personally, I'm not that bothered. I can't say I've missed him whilst he's not been on TV. But he has stated that he is likely to be returning to TV soon, either for TNA or WWE. Speculation was really high, especially around WrestleMania, that he'd be going back to WWE. And he was apparently in ceremony for Hall of Fame for Booker T. Don't know why. But yeah, so apparently there is an offer left for RVD if he wants to return to TNA. Don't really care.
Yeah. Personally, I wouldn't even care if Jeff Hardy left.
Yeah,
I know that you like Hardy, but I don't.
I like Jeff. I think Jeff can offer TNA things. And
when we went to see TNA in January, there was a lot of people booing Jeff.
He wasn't there.
I know, but they were like saying how he sucks and stuff.
I don't think they were.
They were.
The people were booing RVD though, surprisingly.
Yeah, I'm booing RVD, yeah. But Jeff got a lot of heat in January.
You got a bit of heat, I suppose, for not being on the show.
I mean, you have the world champion. He's not supposed to be like not on the show. The world champion should be the front of the company. He should be there to say, "Look at what I am," and blah blah blah. And Jeff wasn't there because he was having problems with
getting out of the country
or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's fair enough. And obviously Jeff isn't going to run for that one. But I think my problem is TNA didn't. I mean, Hogan stated that he wanted to drop the belt on Rude before they came for the UK tour, which would have been more interesting. Personally, if they're going to take Jeff out with an injury, they could have vacated the title and they could have had championship tournaments and matches on part of the UK shows, which could have made it more interesting.
Yeah, that would have been a lot better, yeah.
But better yet, I do think TNA should have just come forward and actually told people why Jeff wasn't going to be there. I think they missed an opportunity trying to write him off of TV. And it's somewhat insulting, particularly, because I mean, they did the whole Jeff Hardy coming back drug use storyline and he showed us footage of it, but yet then they try and pretend that it didn't happen because now you can't get in the country. I think that's silly.
But just trying to make the fans seem stupid, like we don't know what's going on, when it's all over like internet sites and all these things. And we saw him wrestle on drugs when he fought Sting at that pay-per-view.
Yeah. No, well, never mind. And last of the lockups, Kurt Angle's retirement match. I only put this on there because it's kind of interesting, because Kurt usually speaks really highly of TNA and usually tries to talk up his decision to stay with them, but when he was asked who he'd like to face in his retirement match, he said, and I quote, "If I said that, then I'd tell you the company I'd retire with," and his answers were between Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, or Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. And he also put, quote, "Hopefully one of the guys come down to TNA so he can retire there," and that's highly unlikely that that'll ever happen.
I think when he said that, he probably said the WWE comments and then realised what he said, so he tried to correct it at the end, but by the time he said that, he'd been an idiot and it was too late.
I don't know, I suppose if you're thinking of one really last big match he can have before he goes out, I suppose the guys he picked, they're obviously, no offence to TNA or anything, but they're not obviously on the same level of like stardom in terms of celebrities that WWE can portray their stars as.
True, but it just seems a bit disrespectful, and he's kind of making the show feel like a second-rate show, even though technically it is. But
It's just what struck out to me is that Angle's always spoken so highly of TNA that it seems bizarre that he would, I don't know, sort of go against that a little bit. But
yeah, I think if more people had called him out on that, he'd probably say that his Twitter account was hacked again.
Yeah, probably. Well, that wraps up the lockups then. That's 8 things to do on that one. I mean, there was other news, but I didn't put it on here because I kind of forgot about it. But I mean, TNA's lost a lot of executives this last month. About 3 different people, I think, who worked behind the scenes have left the company. I think that's from tour managers and other people involved in creative. I forget exactly the official titles. But I put a news up today about one of the WWE tour managers who left WLC. He's now working at TNA to cover 2 of the slots left by the people that have quit. But I think it's interesting that some of their executives are leaving the company, because there was a lot of talk, like when they got Bruce Pritchard involved last year, of it could be the year before, of Bruce Pritchard bringing a lot of good things to TNA and better TV showing and stuff, and I can't say he's been that much of an asset currently, and with more people leaving from the creative side, it does make you wonder.
What has he actually done though?
I think like gut check and stuff, I think that's part of his thing.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, gut check is a good idea, but they're not doing anything with it. I think they say yes to stars, then we don't see them again.
Well, yeah, that's dumb. I think the problem with gut check is they do it too often, so you get too many stars. Unless, of course, it is they're building up something for whatever Aces and Eights is going to play into if Bischoff and Jarrett are involved. Like you think having...
Yeah. But I think that's more likely to be the people who have
who
no's.
don't get in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is quite likely. But no one has any idea what that's going to be. Interestingly, though, this week on TNA, there was you could vote for who you wanted to see joining the X Division #1 contender 3-way match. I forget all the people involved in it, but Rockstar Spud was in it, which is the first time Spud's been mentioned since the UK shows, which I think's also pretty dumb.
People won't vote for him because they either forgotten who he is or just don't care about him.
But it's like, I mean, TNA, one of their main problems is they don't have a second show, so a whole load of their stars never get on TV for months, and then randomly come around, but yet they're adding to the roster when they can't even showcase. I mean, like Joey Ryan, I mean, that was his gut check, I suppose, but I mean, he's not been on it really.
No.
Mickey James only just come back after a few months of not being on TV. They didn't really need any more stars because they don't have enough time for the ones they already have.
Yeah, they do need to get a second show, yeah.
Well, it's not even that, but I mean, they're talking about money issues, and we'll get to that in a second, but they don't have the money to fund this, and they don't have the money to do big stage productions and stuff. But I mean, they'll be saving themselves a lot of money in paying people to not turn up on their TV shows, because they've got too many talents that they're paying money to if they can't use them. It seems silly.
Yeah, but if they're going to save money, I'd say the best way to do that would be to get rid of people like Hulk Hogan and Sting and Kurt Angle. And I know people will disagree with me on this, but I think it will save money, and then they can focus on stars who aren't past their prime.
I would agree. I don't think they'd get rid of Sting. I don't think they'd get rid of Hogan. I'm starting to think they could get rid of Angle. I don't think it'd make much of a difference, personally.
Yeah, but I mean, how much must Hogan make per episode? I bet he gets paid more than every single person who's actually on the active roster.
Yeah, if he did get paid, they could probably put a hell of a lot more into the product, into the right to get seen as a TV show. And
then we have Sting, who doesn't appear to do anything and hasn't done for over nearly a year now.
But I think, like, obviously having Sting and Hogan is cachet, isn't it? It's instant ratings because of, and like, credibility to the product. And I think Hogan's stretch is kind of priceless in terms of how he can bring marketing in and merchandising in and get different publications for TNA. Because like someone like Bobby Roode, for instance, wouldn't be able to have that, but a name like Hulk Hogan can sell your product much better.
Yeah, but
so it probably does make his money back.
If Hogan left, I don't think the ratings would drop.
No, I don't think they would. I think what they need to be careful is not getting Hogan too involved in stories.
E.g. the Bully Ray story.
It depends how far it goes. I think he's fine as a general manager. I think it was better before. But yeah, I mean, if he starts becoming... I mean, there's all the rumours about him fighting for the belt, and I think if that's where they're heading, that's going to annoy a lot of people.
Yeah, it will.
It depends how they do it, but there's a fine line, I think, with having Hogan, and part of that fine line is not letting him get back in the ring.
Yeah.
But we'll see what they do with that one.
Well, he can't wrestle anyway. He's far past his prime. I'm like a big Hulk Hogan fan, but he can't wrestle anymore. His body is too banged up, and he limps to the ring.
I mean, we were saying, just watching him get in the ring with Bully Ray, I mean, he seems really feeble in terms of what he used to do. But I mean, he can't even punch with all the effort anymore. So you really need to be in there with someone who can sell it to make it look any kind of believable. This brings us to Rewind of the Month, which is what we'll look at as the biggest thing to discuss this month of April, probably.
Has anything actually happened this month which is worth discussing?
Well, I think what I brought out as being the biggest thing to look at is the fact that they've had low ratings, which is nothing new because they always have low ratings.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know there was talk about it before, but TNA obviously built up their show during WrestleMania week, being the 11th of April show, which was headlined obviously by Jeff Hardy, Bully Ray, Full Metal Mayhem, which drew the lowest ratings of the year.
Yeah.
Which, if they put all the eggs in one basket, I mean, it was a good show as well and a good main event, and yet it just doesn't pull any numbers. There's seriously some problems going wrong.
To be fair though, the ratings are only counted in America, right?
Yeah, these figures are, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of their biggest fans are either in the UK or Australia or Germany.
But I don't know how much that makes them back money-wise, because obviously they're on free channels, particularly in England. So I don't know if they really get much traffic back, but I'm sure people probably watch it online. But the figures anyway showed that last week's show finished with a 0.98 rating, which is even lower than the 11th of April show. But what I thought was more kind of relevant to it was Bischoff recently speaking about what TNA does differently from WWE, and he's mentioned about storylines and how storylines evolve differently, and I think that's a good thing how they do it, but clearly it's not reflected in the ratings. In terms of it's supposed to be episodic, it doesn't really lure you in to watch it.
The problem is they focus more on next week we'll have this match versus this match or anything like that, but what they need to do is they need to end the show in a good way, which will make people tune in the next week.
Yeah, they have no cliffhangers, and I think that's... I know that they plan out their stories and stuff, but it feels like they're just padding out time, that they've not put enough into it, that nothing seems to develop on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this last week, the only thing that's developed really is Morgan is now acting on all these issues he's been having with Hogan by calling him to the ring. I mean, that's new, but nothing's happened. I mean, AJ was supposed to have the final straw 2 weeks ago, and if he didn't make his mind up, he's getting fired, is kind of how it's implied. But that's 2 weeks later, and it's still just drifting around, and no one's really done anything.
Yeah.
And even, I mean, this week's show is billed as Bully Ray Hogan face to face, and Bully's going to explain why the Aces and Eights are acting as they are because of Hogan's errors, and that's not even discussed once.
The ending would have been so much better had Sting returned and turned on Hogan.
Yeah, that's the other problem. I mean, Sting, unfortunately, his returns are just really boring now.
Yeah.
I mean, at least this week they didn't do the crappy vignettes that actually seem really exciting until you realise it's just going to be Sting, because Sting just doesn't do anything.
Yeah, see, that's why I said they should get rid of him, because he doesn't do anything.
They need to just change him back a bit, I think, give him more reason to be annoyed. Anyway, I just thought there's some quotes here from what Bischoff said, which I thought were interesting. One of them, speaking on the differences between TNA and WWE, Bischoff said, quote, "Quite frankly, I'd be thrilled with just about any of their mistakes at this point," end quote. Which means, obviously, they plan out all these things, and WWE make errors and still write the script an hour before they go on air, but yet, obviously, they still are far much more successful. But yeah, I mean, WWE are also on the number 2 and number 3 network that averages more than 3 million viewers all week long in their prime time. And he suspects they probably have a budgety per episode of probably about $600,000 to $800,000 to work with, where he thinks TNA are operating on a fraction of that figure, which I think is reflective with their actual look of the show. Because I mean, they don't have a stage now; they've been on the road. They really need to get a Titantron, because if you sit far back, you can't watch anything.
They still advertise Titantron now.
They have the big screen, but it just says Impact Wrestling. They don't show the cameras on it.
I've not actually noticed that.
But I think they should put the cameras on it, because when we were in London watching and a bit further back, you've got no other way of seeing anything. And the show felt really bland because they had no backstage segments. Yeah. So they obviously filmed that separately and put it in. Or if they do film it all inclusive, then I don't think they air it necessarily in front of the crowd. And obviously they should do that. Another quote I think it was interesting was he's talking about TNA, and he says, quote, "TNA has been around, they say 10 years, but probably 7 or 8 is a viable company," which I think is interesting for Bischoff to say. So obviously a limited amount in terms of TNA being 11 this year, but in terms of him saying as a viable company, I mean, I think he's correct with that, because obviously the first couple of years they're only setting up. But I do think it was interesting that he's talking a bit more, not really negative, but a slightly bit more negative in terms of how TNA portray themselves. Another thing is, if you don't know it, his TV partner is Jason Hervey, and they both help produce TNA Impact every week. But he said, I do like how his answer to the question talks about his own success rather than anything relevant to TNA. But he does say that he and Jason Hervey, quote, "have a very successful television production company, one of the most successful ones in Hollywood, and we have since 2003. We produce shows for every major cable network and a few of the bigger networks like NBC. We have a fairly good knowledge of television and how it works, and the audience and what the networks are looking for," end quote. And unfortunately, if you've got all that much knowledge and all that much connections and that great of a show, how come TNA still isn't any better? I think is a big thing you should really pull from that one. I mean, it's alright Bischoff touting his own horn, blowing
his own horn, isn't it?
I mean, blow likes, but
I don't know.
You can tout and you can blow. But yeah, I like Bischoff. I think he does do good things for TNA. But it does sort of make you wonder if he's got that kind of connections and that sort of stretch that you'd imagine that he'd be able to pull a bit more TNA's way, you'd think. But it does also say that the wrestling format has pretty much been the same for the last 15 years, and prior to that it was the same for the last 30 years. I think he's right with that one. He did have some good ideas in WCW. Also, they implemented a lot of different things which were different, which also WWE did copy. And I think that's what did give them the advantage. And TNA has little things. I mean, there's sort of a bit more reality sort of TV aspect of it, more so in terms of how it's filmed. And storyline, I guess, to a point. I think that's different. That making it episodic is different. And WWE has also been paying attention and trying to pull it in to their favour a little bit more. But I mean, it's still little things that if you're not really watching the show to start with, you wouldn't really notice. Here's something I found somewhat insulting by what he said. Actually no, this one's more interesting. Talking about Billy Ray explaining during the Aces and Eights, and him actually talking you through the whole storyline up to this point of how Aces and Eights has been operating behind the scenes. But he said, quote, "We didn't get into all of the nuance and detail because there is some of it we are still going to reveal," end quote. Which I think is interesting, because obviously it was portrayed that Bully Ray being the president was kind of as far as it's going to go, but I think people suspect that there's more involved.
Well, I think it's going to be the Aces and Eights, as in Bully Ray's group will be the Eights, and then there'll be the Aces as well, which will, I think, be Bischoff and Jarrett.
How many Aces? 2 or 4? Because technically there's 4 Aces in the card pack.
Well, in a dream world, I'd have Bischoff, Jarrett, and...
What kind of dreams do you have?
very weird ones. And Ted Turner. Because if they had the money of Ted Turner, then we wouldn't have the issues we have.
Well, technically they might have even more money by Panda Energy, which for a long time I did think was Panda Pops, and I never understood how selling it those little cola drinks in different colours was going to earn that kind of money.
I don't think our American fans would understand that.
American fans?
Yeah.
Is Panda Pops not in America?
I don't think so.
Alright. It's basically
it could
just...
be, yeah, I'm not sure.
It's just Coke, or cola, with a panda on the front, and it's different coloured.
Yeah. I
always thought that's what Dix's father used to work doing. But yeah, I think he does mean that the aces will be revealed eventually, which mean Sting, you did think probably could be involved, but I don't think he is.
No, I don't think he is either, no.
I mean, Brooke might be somewhat involved, but I don't think she'll be a part of it in terms of like a major part. I think she'll just be like helping them out.
No, I think if Brooke's involved, she'll just be Bully's wife. She won't be an ace. She's not big enough to be an ace.
She's not.
She's not big enough to be the knockouts leader either, in my opinion. But there you go.
Well, yeah. Never mind. Let's not talk about Brooke.
Yeah, let's not.
Although, just for the record, I don't mind her being a part of it. Like some people seem to have an issue with her. I don't think that's a big deal. But yeah. Anyway, so the bit I found insulting. He says, quote, "We are essentially telling or teaching the viewers how to watch our show." Yeah, I mean, he's talking pretty much in terms of... I think that's wrong. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm a credible writer or anything, but I've studied writing, and I do try and write in my spare time. And if you need to tell your audience what it is you're doing, then you're not telling your story correctly.
Yeah, exactly. I'd agree with that.
I think that's a problem. You should never have to have a whole episode with someone explaining what things have happened so people are up to date with it. Yeah. If you can't follow it on, then you're not telling it correctly. So I kind of like what they did, and I think that it's different, but if you need to do that for people to understand it, then you're not writing it properly. You shouldn't have to tell people the story. You should just be able to
exactly.
Tell a story and people follow it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they don't understand it, you shouldn't explain it. What else does he put? He put, quote, "We take these long-term arcs and create weekly Bibles, and we take those weekly Bibles and they are the basis outline for every format. And that they plan 6 months in advance." I think that's interesting, but I mean, what they mean by that is they have like the weekly episodes, and I think then they take these little elements of what they want to develop, and they take the shape of what the show's going to reveal. I think is kind of what he means, and unfortunately I think that's the problem as well, that they don't seem to do anything.
Yeah,
I mean,
when I first learnt about the 6 month storylines, I thought it was a good idea because they're planning ahead, unlike WWE who doesn't know what we're going to do for WrestleMania the month of WrestleMania. But they kind of stretch it out, so 6 months, like the episodes of Impact, they don't have a cliffhanger, because it's just the 6 months is just one long episode, in my opinion.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's not, like I say, the Aces and Eights storyline's good, but it's not till you're watching a big match at a pay-per-view where they have a video recap montage of where it actually looks interesting, because when you watch it on a week-by-week basis, the amount of stuff that's different, it's just so minute that nothing changes on a weekly basis, that it needs to take months for the slightest thing to happen. And there's too much stuff happening that they just drop, like Anderson being brought in to be the guy to take out Hogan. That never happened.
Yeah.
Joseph Park finding out something with his attorney friends that can bring down Aces and Eights or something, that never developed anywhere. They just hit him with a hammer and that was the end of it. No one even asked him. Hogan never said, "Hey, what did you find out?" It was just, "Oh, well, never mind.
Yeah,
we'll just leave that one." Samoa Joe got kidnapped.
Yeah, I was going to say the best known one is his one. Yeah.
I mean, what happened to Abyss? They don't even bother with Abyss anymore. Bully Ray takes Abyss out back at the end of their Monsters Ball match. He's not been seen since, apart from 2 random showings where he told his brother not to come. Now Joseph Park's not even bothered about his brother anymore.
Yeah, they need to start making Joseph Park's character a bit more loopy. Like when he gets attacked by the Aces and Eights, when he's on the floor and the camera zooms into his face, he should have like a crazy smile or something.
I think that's the other thing, in terms of them not developing on a weekly basis. They've not done anything with Joseph Park for months now.
Yeah.
Like, his whole character now is that if he starts bleeding, he'll turn into Abyss, pretty much. And yet they've been doing that for months, and it's not going anywhere. That's just kind of got to the point where it's just like, it's just very stagnant. I think they need to plan better. And if they're trying to do it in an episodic format, if you watch any other TV show, they end on a cliffhanger that makes you want to tune in next week. That's the whole point. You build these one moments that make you want to watch it for the week after. TNA don't have that.
Yeah.
It ends predictably. It usually ends in people just beating each other up.
Yeah.
So it's like, the only thing that's different is they don't have the security running out, which they did on every show for months. Yeah, I think that's pretty much basically everything that there is. I mean, he does say that WWE don't write the storylines in advance, but I think that's quite well documented. But, as he also says, they're being so much more successful. So, he was right. Well, I think that covers it. I mean, it's kind of talking more about stories than it is about ratings, but I think it's part and parcel that they don't offer anything. I mean, I've got a friend at work, and he doesn't always watch TNA, and so asked me what happened, but there's not really anything to say. It's very predictable. Aces and Eights did something.
They generally do exactly the same thing every episode.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Randomly attack somebody, and that's it.
But I mean, last week I thought it was more interesting because they did actually start taking people out. But the problem is that they don't injure people that they're not going to come back. Yeah. It's like they say, oh, I've taken out James Storm, but it's like punched him a few times. It's fine. He's going to be on next week's show. It's like Kurt Angle's going to be there. I mean, they should be doing like with Jeff. They should be like hitting people in the head with hammers and actually getting them to take off the show properly.
You could quite easily miss an episode and then tune in the following week and understand what's going on without the recap.
Yeah, not enough happened.
Yeah,
but it's like they just don't do enough with the Aces and Eights either. I mean, Hogan's on about the belt not being in the company, but Bully Ray's under contract to TNA, so the belt's in the company. Bully Ray's not independent. You know, Hogan just could strip the title from him.
I think they need to be shown more outside of TNA. Like, for example, when DX invaded WCW.
Yeah, I mean, they did the press stunt recently where Hogan was talking about TNA tapings in Tampa, Florida coming up at the end of next month, I think. And TNA apparently crashed that. I mean, TNA Aces and Eights apparently crashed it, but
yeah,
I don't know. It just seems dumb. And really, I get the whole bike thing, but I mean, you're trying to be Sons of Anarchy, but unfortunately they're a TV show and they have their guys on bikes. This is a wrestling show and the bikes are completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
They should have had the gang mentality, but just not given them. I mean, who cares? We've never seen them on a bike.
We did for one segment, but as to
yeah, but they sit on the bikes. They don't ride around on them.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I don't think half of them can actually ride the bikes.
It'd be better if they had like someone riding a bike with like a chain in their hand and they like smash up Hogan's car.
Well, yeah, they don't do anything
or something like that.
I mean, they could just drag Hogan around the arena like Undertaker used to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the best way to describe Aces and Eights is their slogan, because I mean they contradict themselves by saying that if you ride with the Aces and Eights, you never walk alone. If you ride with the Aces and Eights, then you should never ride alone. But because they don't ride, they walk, so it should be if you walk with the Aces and Eights, you never walk alone.
Yeah,
because the bikes are irrelevant.
Yeah.
I mean, TNA, they have so many things right, but they never do everything right, and there's always these just tiny little niggly bits that just always ruin everything that they do right.
Yeah.
Like they always get to like 90%, but then there's just something that just knocks it back.
I think what we need to do is they need to hire somebody who is young. Have they got anybody behind the scenes who isn't like Hogan and Bischoff's age? I don't think they do they?
I don't know, but yeah, they're probably all older executives.
They need to get some young ideas and some new blood in there.
In fact, that's probably a bad thing, because if they're employing more recent release WWE creative talent, I mean, WWE's not been creatively entertaining for 10 years.
Yeah.
So you're employing the wrong people there.
Exactly.
They should definitely get the stars to have more of an input.
I'd agree with that, yeah.
I mean, I know they're quite lenient to let. I mean, Jeff is sort of let loose to do his own entrance stuff and T-shirts and whatnot. But I mean, they should creatively just talk to them.
Back in the good old days, they didn't even script their promos, did they?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think they script all them for TNA either. But I think that's part of being a wrestler, isn't it?
Exactly.
But I do think they should let people have more creative control on their gimmicks, and just if people have good ideas of stories, they should try and run with that too.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Because it could go backwards and wrong. But I mean, people they've let Kaz and Daniels are a good example, because TNA's got to a point where they're letting them do their own thing. Because Daniels recently said that he always felt sort of held back, and the TNA tried to script him and portray him in different manners. But now that they've kind of got to like a confidence level, all of Bad Influence has come out of their creative minds. And I think Bad Influence is one of the best things going.
Yeah.
And all their gimmicks and jokes and stuff like that, that's all Kaz and Daniels themselves, just being themselves. And I think the same is probably about Rude and Aries as well. And I think for those four together, I think would be interesting. I think they'd make a good faction as well, actually, if they put all four of them together.
No, I don't think they'd do that.
No, not in terms of like in a serious manner, but I think it'd be good if they did sort of team up.
Going by this previous impacts, I think that they will do something with the four of them, but I don't know whether they'll do it like a friendly group, like how Bobby Roode and Aries first started, or if they'll just fight and that's the end of it. But it will be interesting. Yeah, I like the way they play off each other. It's very good.
I think it'd be good if they did have them as like a faction that tried to work together but always tried to double cross one another as well. I think that's kind of what Aries and Roode are.
Yeah.
But I think that always quite interesting.
Yeah, that would be good, yeah.
Well, I was saying, I think this week kind of closed the aspect of Chavo Hernandez and Aries Roode Bad Influence tag matches. So I don't think we're going to see any more rematches for them for a while, which can be boring if they did.
Yeah.
But
that's another person who I think should leave the company, Chavo.
Yeah.
I mean, who actually likes Chavo?
I'm sure some people do. His uncle probably does.
Yeah, probably, but he's probably the only one who does.
But no, with Bully and Devon having the section behind the scenes where Bully's talking about being world champ and Devon's television champ, I think they did talk about what if they put the tag belts with it. And I think it'd be interesting if Bully and Devon capture the tag belts, and when Rude and Aries were talking before about holding all the belts, they could have like an old school WWF Power Trip match, tag title match, with all the belts in play. For instance, you could have Rude and Aries versus Bully and Devon, winners take all kind of thing. If either Rude or Aries pinned either Bully or Devon, they won the world belt. Yeah. The other one get the television belt, and they both get the tag belts. I think they'd do something like that. Would be quite interesting. Yeah,
that would be good. Yeah, but I don't think they will do that.
Probably not. But I'd prefer to see that main event rather than Bully versus Hogan.
Yeah, that's gonna be stupid.
Plus, I think having Rude and Aries trying to double cross one another for the entirety to try and win the world belt would be quite interesting as well.
I'm just looking forward to Bully versus Hogan, and then all the TNA haters being like, "Oh my god, I told you that would happen." Yeah. When Hogan wins the title.
Well, I do think if they do that, if Hogan does win the belt, I don't think he'll be champion. I think he'll just win it back to TNA and then vacate it or hand it down to someone.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be like a wrestling match, I don't think. He'd just have to get Bully to put it on the line to fight him, probably.
Hogan can't even wrestle anymore. He can't even do his signature moves, like his leg drop or his big boot.
Or walk.
Yeah.
But actually, interesting, if they did do that, do you reckon Brooke would screw Hogan?
I think so, yeah. I think it'd be good if she did.
And then Sting could hit Brooke with a bat.
No, he won't do that.
I know, but it'd be better if he did.
Yeah.
That's another thing they don't do. They don't beat up enough women. Guys should be beating up women. It's part of what wrestling is.
Yeah, but then they'll give kids a bad image, and kids will think, hey, they did it, so why can't we beat up girls?
Yeah, you probably are allowed.
Then we'll have the angry housewife group saying, hey, you can't show people beating up women on TV.
True.
Like back in the old days when people used to complain about WWF Attitude Era.
Yeah, But then, technically, by that logic, I'm already a professional trained wrestler. And I can also join the army straight away because I play games, so...
Yeah, true.
I've also been to space many times. I'm a qualified astronaut. Do anything. This bit I called Over and Out, which is basically where I thought we'd talk about different stars who I think were over and ones which are on the way out.
Well, I'll enjoy this bit then, because I don't think any of them are over at the moment.
Right, well, I put at the top of the list would be AJ Styles. I don't think anyone's more interested to watch than AJ's current story.
Yeah, but he's another person who does exactly the same thing every single week since he's come back. Nothing is different. He just stands there, someone says something to him,
and he walks off.
And then he walks off, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. But at the end of the day, he is most entertaining to watch. I actually am paying more attention to him than anyone else.
Yeah, but only because we want him to do something.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But in terms of the one I'm more looking forward to actually see develop, I'd go with AJ Styles. Which, on a counter aspect, brings us to James Storm.
Who I'm not liking at the moment because he gets involved with everything, perhaps for no reason whatsoever.
I agree. Storm was at a point of being really entertaining. I think it was about the time of just before December, which is what the final resolution was, which is a nice knock back to my DVD review on WrestlingPress.com. When Storm won the #1 contendership, and then for some reason he decided to give it to Bobby Roode.
Yeah.
Which is a really dumb thing to say. He's been working all these years for it, and then he just gave it away. That was a stupid booking on their part. But I mean, Storm's been downhill since, and currently is just been getting involved in everyone else's business.
I think the problem with that is they don't know what to do with him.
I think they do know what to do with him. They just aren't doing it very well. I'm fairly sure he's going to have quite a big part to play in AJ being out of the world title picture, and probably bad influence now with this whole fortune possibly taking over fighting aces and eights kind of thing. I think he's building to something, but they're just doing it in a really bad manner.
Yeah.
Because he just turns up. It's like he keeps blabbing about wanting AJ to speak. So the one time AJ starts to speak, he comes out and interrupts him. So
yeah,
that's dumb.
That's quite funny.
So how about Rob Terry?
Rob Terry, I think he's quite good, but he just needs to get a gimmick.
They're certainly pushing him currently.
I mean, he's no worse than other people who just squash people, such as Ryback or Goldberg or even Batista.
Yeah.
But the difference with them is they actually have decent gimmicks.
Yeah.
Unlike Rob Terry, who just sort of does random things like having a Terminator logo and then dancing to some rubbish
barn music.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've kind of like thrown multiple. They're not even gimmicks at him though, but they're sort of multiple ideas and never let him really develop anything. I think that's probably a thing of maybe if they actually let him try and be himself.
I think he'd be a lot better if he kind of went down the Brock Lesnar route, as in not have a speaking role, just have the manager to do everything for him.
I'd agree with that. I think he should change his hair because it just makes him look like too stylish, and
yeah,
he looks like a model. And if he's trying to come across as like some really sort of big, like credible, fierce kind of guy, he shouldn't look like a bro, is is. I don't like his attire. He needs to change it. But yeah, I do think if they did have a manager, it'd be much better. I mean, Abyss used to work like that, and Abyss was much better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's not terrible in the ring, but he's just not great either. But if he was interesting as a character, then you'd probably look past that. Bad influence. Influence.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, they're really good. I think that they're going in the right direction with them. They're like one of the only people who I think they're doing something good with.
Yeah, and there's certainly whoever they interrupt or whatever they get involved in is probably much more entertaining because they're there than if they weren't.
Yeah.
That brings back to the merchandising thing, because like when I was younger, I used to like buying wrestling merchandising for stars, but I don't care for that so much now. I'd rather buy like a TNA or Impact Wrestling merchandise and promote the company rather than wear like a James Storm t-shirt.
Yeah.
But Bad Influence, I think, have a good kind of sort of like smaller following for that sort of what they are. That if they had decent merchandise, people would jump on board with it. And the one they've come out with kind of sucks.
I think what they could do is have one of their insults at the crowd. What we normally call the crowd,
like ass puppets and
yeah. So they could have like a t-shirt saying "I'm an ass puppet."
Yeah,
or something like that. That'd be quite good. I'd probably get one of those.
I mean, when we talked about taking the sign to TNA, we were actually just going to do a Bad Influence one to either call ourselves that or just ask to be insulted.
Yeah. It's always just interesting watching their segments to see how they insult the crowd, because they always have a different catchphrase or something, or Kaz and Daniel's word of the week, or whatever you say it in your blog.
Yeah. But I also think that when they talk about Bad Influence the movie, I do think it would be funny if they had this tiny little backstage segment for them working on it.
Yeah.
Just every week. And I think maybe they even try and build it to them actually just like showing stuff. I mean, I don't mean get Morgan Freeman involved, but I mean, they could just make a really dumb thing. They could just be like behind the scenes stuff. I think that'd be really funny.
They could do a movie like Jay and Silent Bob.
Well, they could just do something, yeah.
Obviously better than that, because I don't rate that film at all.
I don't rate it either. Which on the counterpoint brings us Chavo Guerrero and Hernandez, who constantly get pushed for some reason.
For a moment there, I thought you would say who constantly suck, and I was going to agree with you on that.
Well, they constantly get pushed, but yeah, they probably do constantly suck. I mean, of late they've not had so many bad matches, but they're just a bit bland. I think that's the main problem with it.
The problem with Chavo, he's blah blah blah, I'm a Guerrero, blah blah blah, Eddie, blah blah blah, cheer me. And he does that every single week, and it's like, okay, do something yourself.
Yeah, it's not the...
I mean, with like Brett and Owen Hart, for example, you didn't hear Brett saying, I'm Owen's brother, or Owen being, I'm Brett's brother. They had their own person, they were their own person, they did their own storylines and everything. They never tried to live off the coattails of each other.
Yeah, and I think Chavo's always been one who's suffered from not really having any gimmicks.
Yeah.
He's not really that great all round. I mean, he's not great on the mic, he's not great for character work, he's not bad in the ring. But unfortunately, he can be great in the ring, but if you don't have a gimmick in wrestling, you're kind of boring to watch.
Yeah.
Because you can't do anything with him.
They should just get rid of him, I think.
I think he should change his name to Poncho Guerrero.
Poncho Guerrero,
and his slogan should be, it's sombrero time. I mean, I would actually find that entertaining.
That would be better than what he's doing at the moment, yeah.
It would. I mean, Hernandez isn't too bad in the ring, but again, Hernandez is always... He never... It's like the best quote is that he's one of the most experienced tag team wrestlers in TNA, because he's been champion 6 times with 6 different partners. That, to me, says they don't know what to do with him.
I agree on that.
So they just put him in different matches. So again, he needs some work. Taryn Terrell, referee turned knockout, hot mess.
Yeah, I don't like her, to be honest. I preferred her as a referee.
Hot mess.
Yeah, which is another stupid thing about her.
It's like you spelled something, but it's slightly warm.
Yeah.
I don't mind Taryn Terrell. Obviously, they're pushing it. I'm fairly sure she's going to get a title match probably soon.
I don't know. I think she's bland. She hasn't got a gimmick. Her attire is even bland and boring.
Well, they're trying to portray her as she's slightly deranged and crazy, which I guess she might be.
Yeah,
but she doesn't. She's not portrayed in that manner, really.
If you're going to portray her to be deranged and crazy, they should give her a slightly messed up attire.
They could do more with it. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
She could have a bit more backstage stuff as well.
She's a bit too trim and proper to be in a messed up storyline.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to portray her as somewhat psychotic and hot, messy and stuff, but yet they don't want to lose that like model appeal either.
Yeah. If it's up to me, I'd put her in like jeans which have like holes in them and just like a top.
She could just do more, and if she could have promos where she was a bit off. I mean, she doesn't have to be like psychotic, but she could just be like making no sense whilst talking about rubbish.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in the ring, I think she's alright. I think she'd be quite a good asset. She can run the ropes, Velvet can't, and she's champion, so...
Yeah, she's alright in the ring, yeah. She just needs to get a decent gimmick. She's in this sort of Rod Terry boat.
Yeah, I mean, Velvet doesn't have a gimmick. Velvet just shows herself off. So she's just kind of like a wrestling whore.
She'd be good in WWE.
I do like Velvet. I did miss when she wasn't there. But yeah, she's a bit... She could do some training.
Yeah.
Bobby Roode and Austin Aries.
Yeah, they're good as well, aren't they?
I mean, I don't really know
where they're going to go with it.
I know, that's the thing. In terms of, if I think they're probably more on the way out than they are on the way over. I think when they first got together and the whole point of them was to try and capture all the belts, I actually thought that was interesting, but they never pursued it.
Yeah.
They got their tag belts and lost the tag belts. I think they should have kept the belts easily over Chavo and Hernandez.
Yeah, their original plan was good, but they just lost it, so now I think they're just going to break up.
Probably. Particularly with the whole Fortune thing kicking off. Unless, of course, they do something a bit more interesting with Bad Influence.
No, I don't think Fortune will reform.
I don't think they will either.
No.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's missed potential, probably. Matt Morgan.
Yeah, he's good, but I think his storyline is just taking too long for a start, and they missed a good opportunity on Impact. I think Hogan should have agreed to give him the championship run.
It's kind of a dumb storyline, because I mean, Morgan has been trying to push Hogan's buttons forever and having his feet on his desk, intimidating him, stealing his robe, and then he came out and just said, "I'm your greatest guy." That seemed backwards. He seemed to be trying to get respect and then just asked for it instead.
Yeah, but to be fair, I think he's sort of going for the being cocky and showing Hogan that he is the best. He didn't have to tell him that he's the best, because he probably is the best right now.
Yeah. I'd agree with it being a missed opportunity. I think it's better him not getting the shot than rather getting the shot in terms of how it was presented. But I'm fairly sure they're not done with that one yet.
No, they're not, no.
But yeah, Morgan definitely is a talent who should be much higher up than he currently has been. Although saying that, when Jeff was champion the first time with his Immortal run and he wrestled Morgan twice, I think, back-to-back pay-per-views, those matches sucked, so...
Yeah, but I'd say it's more Jeff's fault than Matt Morgan's.
It's probably a mixture of both.
As you can tell, I'm not a big Jeff Hardy fan.
But I think Jeff struggles in some manners, but his matches, particularly like the last sort of year, or at least the last half year, I think will be really strong. I think Morgan has suffered. I mean, when Morgan wrestled like Joseph Park a few weeks back, it wasn't spectacular.
No.
I think it could just be who he needs to work with, but anyway. Joey Ryan.
Is he even still around?
He was the Knockouts referee for a week. That's the first time we've seen him.
Yeah, that was good, but then he just disappeared again.
Yeah, I think Joey Ryan's one of those guys that actually does have a good gimmick. I mean, I don't know if everyone likes it, but I do think he's really entertaining.
He is, yeah, but I don't think we know what to do with him.
No, I don't think they do either.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he needs to be used more, but again, what to do with him? This is the thing I thought was most interesting in terms of, I was thinking the main people who seem to be getting put over and the main people who seem to just be on the way out. The two people who I didn't really think of straight away were Bully Ray and Jeff Hardy, and yet Bully Ray's being pushed more than anyone else, and I don't think he's at the top of it anymore.
Yeah.
I think he was when he won the belt, and then he didn't wrestle for a month, and you don't really see him that often. He's not really doing an awful lot currently.
Yeah. We need to. I'd say what we need to do. We need to turn Brooke heel, and then have Bully and Brooke do the Triple H and Stephanie attitude era sort of thing.
They could do. I don't get though why. I mean, I understand it from a booking point of view, not letting Bully wrestle for a month to build up the rematch. Like, what's the word? It's not suspense. Suspense for the rematch.
Suspense, yeah.
But I mean, like Devon's television champion, they did go for a phase of defending it every week and then every other week, and they defended it once in like 6 months. That's dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, that belt's TNA's belt. Hogan can just take the belt off him, so I don't know why they don't let him do that.
Yeah, but Hogan can take the world belt off Bully Ray.
Exactly. So that's why they've not really established why Aces and Eights is a problem, because Hogan has authoritative control over all of them. He could just fire them. He could just strip the belts. He could do anything. It's not like he belongs to someone else who just stole the belt and disappeared.
Yeah.
They could do that, but they don't. So it's a bit silly. There's not really that big of a threat, really. So they've not really overly thought it out. But I just thought it was interesting. I mean, Bully Ray and Jeff Hardy are obviously still kind of at the top of the list, but I don't think they're doing anything amazingly interesting with them currently.
No, I personally wouldn't care if Jeff went to WWE.
He's not doing.
I know, but I wouldn't care if he did.
I would. I like that. But yeah, so that's pretty much everything I got prepared to cover. Emails. I doubt we have any. We always do ask. If you want to ask any questions for next time we do TotalNonstopRewind, obviously we'll plan to do it at least next month. If not, I mean, we'll both do other things in our spare time. I work 2 days a week, occasionally. And I spend a good hour and a bit on a blog every week. So I'm really quite busy. But yeah, I think the thing is that we'll obviously do these more if people like them. But we can't tell you that we'll do it every single week because we don't have like a schedule for it. It's not a job. So we can't say that we're going to definitely do it, but obviously we intend to, if possible. And we have absolutely no emails, which is fair enough, because obviously I didn't think we would, because we need to get established more so. But yeah, ask us on TotalNonstopRewind on Facebook, or send us an email to TotalNonstopRewind@gmail.com. And yeah, we'll give you a shout out, and we'll talk about it. But I think that about wraps up everything that we need to discuss on this show. I don't really think there's anything else to talk about. But yeah, just have to let us know if you like it, or even if you listen to it, because I'm fairly sure no one will. But you never know. So yeah, thank you very much for listening, and we shall talk to you again at some other point.
Until next time, we have been TNR, and we will see you in the future. How's that?